when silence echoes louder than words. New York was never truly quiet. Even at dawn, the city breathed, distant sirens, humming traffic, the soft rattle of subway grates. Yet inside the old public library on 42nd Street, silence lived its own private life. Emma Carter worked there. She liked the early hours before tourists arrived, before conversations and footsteps disturbed the calm. Silence felt safer, predictable. It never asked questions she wasn't ready to answer. Emma was an observer by nature. She noticed things others missed, how dust floated like tiny stars in the sunlight, how readers held their breath while turning pages, how loneliness often disguised itself as independence. That was how she noticed Daniel. He came every morning at exactly 9:17, always alone, always wearing the same dark coat, even in spring. He sat at the same table near the tall windows, opened a sketchbook, and drew. Not quickly, not nervously, but with patience, as if listening to something invisible. They never spoke. The first time their eyes met was accidental. Emma was returning a stack of books when she felt it. That quiet pull, like someone had gently touched her shoulder. Daniel looked up. Their gaze locked for barely a second. But something shifted. Emma carried that moment with her all day, replaying it like a song without lyrics. She told herself it meant nothing. Yet the next morning, she arrived early again. So did he. Days turned into weeks. A ritual formed without permission. Emma learned his habits the way one learns a favorite melody. He drank black coffee from the cafe across the street. He always paused before leaving, as if reluctant to return to the noise outside. Sometimes he smiled at his drawings softly to himself. Emma never asked his name. Words felt too heavy, too dangerous. Silence allowed her to stay close without being seen. She began leaving things behind. A poetry book on his table, anonymous. A folded note with a single line. Some feelings don't need sound. Once, a small pencil sharpener shaped like a star. Daniel noticed. He started looking around more often. His eyes searched the room, curious, almost hopeful. One day, Emma caught him waiting, not drawing, just watching the entrance. Their next exchange was a smile. Quiet, careful. That smile warmed her for days. But silence is fragile. One morning, his chair was empty. Emma waited. Noon passed. Evening came. The chair remained untouched. Panic crept in, sharp and unfamiliar. The following day, she saw him, but not alone. A woman sat across from him, laughing, touching his hand freely, speaking the words Emma had never dared to use. The world felt suddenly loud. Rumors reached her quickly. Daniel was moving. A new job, a new city, a clean break. Emma stood frozen between fear and regret. She had hidden behind silence, so long that it had begun to feel like a lie. On his last day, rain fell hard against the windows. Daniel sat alone again, sketchbook closed. He looked tired, as if he, too, had been waiting for something that never arrived. Emma walked toward him. Her hands trembled, but she didn't stop. She placed a small envelope on the table. Inside was a drawing, his drawing style, but of her standing between shelves, watching. Beneath it, for words. It was always you. Emma didn't wait for a response. She turned away, heart pounding, breath shallow. Speaking still felt impossible. But footsteps followed. Daniel stood beside her near the exit. For a moment, neither moved. The rain filled the silence for them. Then, gently, he reached for her hand. No words, just warmth, just understanding. Sometimes, love doesn't arrive with confessions or promises. Sometimes, it lives in the quiet, waiting for courage. And sometimes, silence speaks loud enough.